In this lesson, we're going to perform heads-up digitizing. There are all kinds of ways to digitize in Manifold, and I'm going to show you two different methods: digitizing discrete polygons and digitizing lines and creating polygons. I prefer the latter because that's how I learned to digitize many years ago. It's called spaghetti digitizing because when you're done, your lines look like a plate of spaghetti. The first thing I want to do is under File, Import a scanned image that's already georeferenced. If yours didn't work in the last lesson, you can just import this land use scan in your data directory. It's an ECW file format, and it's already in the appropriate coordinate system. The next thing we want to do is create a new drawing, and I'm going to call it land. Now under land there's a table. I want you to double click on that, and under table select add and then a column. And let's create a column called LC that represents land cover. Okay, we're ready to start digitizing. Let's create a map component. Again, under create and then map, but only put the land use scan in there because that's the one that has the correct coordinate system. And you can see on the bottom it's UTM. Now here's a little trick. Let's move land into it and then right click on the tab and project it to the map. Now land has the appropriate coordinate system. Now what I'm going to do is stretch out our map a bit so we can have a little more area to look at. And let's zoom into an area that looks kind of interesting. I'm not going to digitize this whole map with you. I'll leave you to do that a little later. So here we go. We'll zoom into this smaller area. And then select the Insert Area button on the Tools bar. And what I'm going to do with as I press my left mouse button, I'm going to digitize around this agriculture polygon. Each time I want to add a vertex, I'll just press the left mouse button. Now I'm going to skip ahead in the video so it doesn't take so long, a number of stages here, but you can, again, spend some time digitizing the data yourself. So any jumpiness you'll see is just because I skipped ahead. If you right-click, that will close off the polygon. So a right mouse button will actually end the line that or the polygon that you drew. So let's zoom in a little further. I just turned off some of the background area, and that looks pretty ugly. So what I want to do, let's turn off the zoom button and press the Control-Alt key and click on the polygon. Here you'll see the vertices show up. You can grab individual vertices and move them into place to rearrange it. And you can get pretty meticulous about this. Now if you need to add a coordinate, right-click on the line and then select Coordinate Add, and you'll see that it adds a vertice. And then we can move that in place and smooth it. Okay, that's as good as I want to make it. Let's zoom out and do another polygon. Let's try this developed one right next to it. Now I'm going to add another polygon, but here I'm clicking on the snapping tool. And when I do that, I can snap on an individual line by hitting the space bar. And this is called Snap to Areas. Now after I click on my first polygon, I can hit the space bar again, and that way I'm no longer running in the snap mode. So I can continue to click on my left mouse button. Now when I get to the end, here's another trick. It's called Autocomplete Polygons. It takes some manual dexterity. If you press the Alt key and slowly hover over the other polygon, you can see that the polygon is actually snapping to all the lines. You can continue to do that until you get to the end, and then right-click on your other polygon. And let me change the color a little bit. And right-click on land, and I'm going to change the opacity as well so we can see through it. Okay, so that should give you some idea about polygon digitizing. I don't really like doing it this way, even though most people think it's easier. I'm probably a product of my old age, so I still prefer spaghetti digitizing, and I'll show you that in just a moment. Okay, we'll zoom all the way out. What I want you to do is just turn off all the buttons, and let's select the features we just created, and we'll get rid of them. So I'm just going to draw a box around them with all my tool buttons off, and then hit the delete button and delete it. Okay, so let's zoom to another area on the map, and we'll try some spaghetti digitizing and then building polygon topology from there. For this part, let's select the line and the Insert Line tool from the toolbar, and we'll begin to digitize the boundary lines. Let's start with this developed polygon first. Again, hitting the left mouse button to follow each of the lines, and then the right mouse button to end a line. And we're going to overhang the lines just a little bit from the outside, and we'll clean that up later with the topology tools. Let's change the thickness of our line so we can see it a little better, and we still have the opacity on. So what I want to do is right click on land, go to opacity, and just move it all the way to 100, and there we go. So we have a much darker line, we can see it easier. Let's add another line. This time I'm going to add the forest boundary, and again I'm overhanging the developed land just a little bit because I want to make sure I have closed polygons. Now in spaghetti digitizing, we don't have to duplicate the lines between the polygons. The topology tools are going to handle that for us. So here I'll enter a couple more polygons. I'm skipping ahead in the video, so it's not like I'm working real fast. I'm just trying to save some of the time on the video for you. And we'll do this developed polygon as well. And we'll add a couple more lines, just the boundary line again. I want to make sure that I'm overhanging things slightly. And let's close off this little forest polygon. There's a road or something here, but I want to just digitize the line to show you how this works. Okay, so you can see that, actually let me finish up this developed polygon, and then what I'm going to do is stretch that one straight line at the top that represents the border. So again, what I'll do is hit Control. I'll turn off my line button, hit Control Alt, and pull this vertex out so that the line is extended further. So we've got a whole lot of lines digitized, but there's a bit more to do. What we're going to do is build topology. So right-click on the land drawing. Let's go to Properties. Now that precision is pretty low. I'm going to change it to 3 meters, and that way lines that are within 3 meters of one another are going to get snapped together, because there's a chance that I might have been off a little bit because I'm zoomed out a little. And then in our Transform toolbar, I'm going to select Normalize Topology for all the objects in land and hit Apply. If you have business tools, you can use the Topology Factory, but we're going to do this without it. So here my topology is built, the lines are split. And back in the Transform toolbar, I want to select Bounded Areas and hit Apply. So now I've created actual polygons. I want to start entering some attributes. Before I do, I'm going to change the opacity so we can see what the attribute is underneath. So now we can see the actual land cover. Now what I'm going to do is go back into the land table, because LC, when we created it, if I go to Change Type, I set that up as an integer field, and we want that to be text. And I'm going to make it a fixed length text field of 4 characters. So now if I double click on each polygon, I can type in the attribute. So here I'm going to type in the forest, or F. Here we'll do D for developed. And let's get the other D. And we'll change some colors. I'm going to end here, and you can finish up digitizing the map on your own and see how far you can get.